Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our mini-series on creating custom user resources with the Pollination Rhino plugin. And in the previous video, we looked at how we can save resources like constructions and programs and schedules into our user standards library so that we can reuse them across several projects. In this last video, we're going to go over how you can actually edit that user standards library, which is, I think, a pretty advanced topic because the idea behind the user standards library is that you create a set of static resources that you can reuse, but things change, right? We may always need to edit or reevaluate the standards that we're using in our projects. So I'm going to show you the process for editing or redoing your standards library in any of these cases. And at the very end, I'll even talk about how you can share your standards library with between other machines and other people in your office. So to start off with, I'm just going to recap. I'm going to open up a blank instance of the Pollination Rhino plugin and show you what we had done in the previous videos, which was that we created these standards for a biology lab program, as well as a construction set with some triple pane glass. So maybe I'll first show the construction set, right? This, if I go to the resources here under the Pollination Rhino tab, I pull up the construction set manager and I scroll to the end, right? You see that we have in our user library right now this base of design climate zone 5 construction set, right? And as I said, that has a triple pane construction in it. If I go to program types, you can see we have in our user library at the moment this biolab default fumid 1 scenario, right? That is in our user library. So now let's say if we do want to edit these objects, what is basically the process for this, right? Because this is now something static that is fixed basically within our library. It's not something that's in this 3DM model right now, like a lot of our other resources. So if we want to be able to edit our user library, essentially what we have to do, we have to embed the things from our user library into the current 3DM model that we're working on, right? So this will allow us then to edit those objects. Then we can purge the library that we have, basically purge our current user standards library, and then resave all of our things with our edited programs back into our library. So that's the full workflow that we're going to go through here. So I'm going to start by simply going to this resources tab and going onto embed user library, right? So this is going to take everything from our user library that we've written so far, embed it in the 3DM file. And if I click this, you'll see a little caution will pop up because, right, this is going to really increase the size of your 3DM and any HBJSON files that you write out from this 3DM. In this case, right, I know it's not going to be enormously because I only have one construction set and one program, but you guys could imagine, right, you may build up a big library of all the programs that you use across your office, right, and that's going to take up some space. So I'm just going to say yes in this case, but this is just a warning letting you know that. Right, and that means that all those objects in my user library are now part of the model. The next thing I'm going to do, I said I'm going to purge my library of all of these user objects so that I can basically, and I'm going to save them into this 3DM so that I can reuse them. So I'm going to go to purge user library at the very bottom of this list, right? That's right below embed user library. And again, you're going to get another warning that says this is an irreversible process. I'm going to show you in a little bit. It's not completely irreversible, but we haven't really built a nice UI to reverse it. So that's why you're getting this caution here. I'm just going to say yes, right? So this is going to basically remove everything from my current library. Right, and it's going to give you a little message that pops up here saying that it deleted a bunch of files from the machine. Right, these were files that were in my custom user library that were essentially this is what I had written out and saved to my user library previously. And we're going to come back to this in a second. This file path is going to become pretty important. But for now, I'm just going to say okay. Right, and you're going to get a message saying you probably want to restart Rhino to make sure that the user library is correctly loaded up. But before I do that, right, because I've embedded everything into this particular 3DM file, I'm going to go to Save As. I'm going to call this, let's say, Edit um, Basis of Design Standards. I'm just going to save it to my desktop here. I called it BOT, but I'll say that in a second instead of BOD for Basis of Design. But I'm just going to close this file, right? And let's see. I'm just going to change the name as I said there, right? This should be BOD standards. Right, so I've got all my Rhino instances closed. I'm going to open up this file I just saved, this edit BOD standards, and what we should see at that point is instead of seeing that program and that construction set under the user library, if I go, let's say, go to model resources and then to construction sets, instead of seeing the source as user, right? Which means it's in the user library. Instead, I should see the source is scrolling all the way down here. Oh, the source The source, oh, here we go. It's up at the top this time. The source is model, right? So this is actually, we've embedded that Climate Zone 5 basic design construction set that we made into this 3DM model. Same thing can be said, right, for that program type. I go to the program types and find that biolab. Yeah, right? So here's that default biolab view mode. So, all right, let's say we want to make an edit to, to this fume hood lab. Maybe let's say I realize that the default assumption I was making for the fume hood density of a typical biolab, maybe it wasn't really as accurate as I could have made it. And so let's say I'm going to open this. I'm going to double click this biolab default FH1, and I'm going to go down to the ventilation section. And you guys remember, right? We set up everything before to have essentially an air changes per hour of 10, assuming basically when all the fume hoods of the space are on, right? We're going to have 10 air changes per hour in this biolab. Maybe I realized that this was a little ambitious, and like most of the fume hoods I've, let's say, ended up designing have something like 12 air changes per hour when all the fume hoods are on. So let's say, right, I'm going to revise this program to have 12 air changes per hour. And I should probably, right, I should change the biolab ventilation schedule, right, because we should still be dropping it down, if you guys remember, to 3 air changes per hour when the lab is unoccupied, bump that up to 6 air changes per hour when it is occupied, and then when all humans are on, I guess, now we'll say it's equal to 12. But right, if I want to edit the schedule, right, I can do the same. I can just click on it here. It's going to bring up a little schedule manager, but then I can double click on biolab ventilation FH1, right? And this will bring up a little menu where I can now go through and, so if now the new air changes per hour is 12, and I want to say that when it's unoccupied, it's at 3 air changes per hour, that's going to be 0.25 or 25% or 0.25 times that 12. So I'm just going to hover over this and say 0.25, right? This is just me changing the schedule to better reflect what I had said earlier. Oops, I got to keep it hovered over it when I do this, right? So 0.5 is going to be equal to 6 air changes per hour, right? 0.5 times that 12, right? So this is basically going to be an edited version of that. Right, I'm going to do the same thing for the weekday schedule here. I'm going to change all this 0.5 by hovering over it. And again, this is, you don't have to follow along in this point because this is really just an example. But right, this is just showing you, oops, I didn't stay hovered over that. And this should be 0.25. Okay, right, so now, oh, and I got to do the same thing for holidays and the other, oh, maybe not for the design days because those I think I just assumed that all the females were on all the time. Okay, but that looks right. And yeah, we'll keep the winter and summer design days the way they are, right? But you can see now I'm making edits basically to the schedule, right? Well, I'm going to select this again and to these air changes per hour to reflect, let's say, something new I've learned about, what I should be assuming for a default biolab. All right, so I can say OK here, right? And this is editing that biolab program as part of the model here. So now that I've done all of this, right, I can save this 3DM model. Again, that's going to save this file with that edited lab program that has 12 air changes per hour instead of the 10 that I assumed originally. And now let's say I want to now make my user library again, but with this edited version of the biolab program. What I can do with this file open here, I can go and I could save to user library just like what we did in the previous video. Right now, that's going to re-export this edited biolab program and the new construction set that I had. Right, it's going to export that all back into my user standards library. And sure enough, right, we're seeing all the successfully added objects to the library. These are all those things that I had previously that I purged, and now I'm adding back in there. It's just that now, right, this let me see, this biolab default FH1, this is going to have that 12 air changes per hour. So I can hit OK, right? Now I can close out of Rhino here. And just to show you that we've actually edited our user standards library now, I'm going to open up a completely blank instance of Rhino. And you guys are going to see that program has actually been edited from what it was previously. Right, so let me see. I'm going to go back over to my model resources. I'm going to go over to program types. And we should see, I'm going to have to scroll down to the bottom again because it's going to be in the user section instead of just under the model section, right? Right, so there's no schedule, or sorry, no program associated with the model here, but right now this is back. This is part of our user library. In this case, if I double click on this, it's going to show me all the assumptions of this base of design laboratory. And sure enough, right, we got 12 air changes per hour here. I could also go and I can check this ventilation schedule. You guys would see this is edited, but trust me, right, we've now essentially edited this biolab default FH1 schedule in our user standards, right? So the next time I go to apply this schedule to a model, right, like like I did in the previous video, it's going to be using 12 air changes for the case where all the fume hoods are on. All right, so this just gives you a sense that's how generally how you edit your user standards library. Now, because this is the last video, I'm going to get a little bit more advanced. So you guys remember that file path that I showed earlier, right? When we purged our user library, it deleted those files. So if you want to actually get really deep into it, now this comes with some caveats, like because it's very easy to corrupt your user standards library if you're going to edit it manually. But I think it's important for everybody to kind of know that your user standards actually exist in a folder on your machine, right? So they are true to the name of it, stored under your username section on your machine. So so this is all going to be the same path, basically. No matter where you are on any machine with Pollination Rhino. The only difference is that instead of my username or my name here, Chris, you're going to have your own username. And you may write this app data folder. It exists on all Windows installations, but it's a hidden folder. So you may need to show hidden folders in order to be able to access this. But this is the full path. If you get to here, you'll actually see where things are stored in your resource library. So if I go to let's say, let me go first to actually the programs. And if I open up this little JSON file here, I'm going to open it up in just a text editor, You can see this is how that basis of design fume hood is actually saved into your user library, And it's got all the information here that you were looking at in Rhino, The default lighting, that you got all the information about the ventilation, let's say, We've got that fume hood ventilation going under here. You got that 12 air changes per hour, So all this is actually stored in a set of JSON files. You'll see the same thing, very similar structure for, let's say, your schedules, You remember that default ventilation schedule that we made, That's stored in a JSON file that you can see here. You'll see that construction set has a JSON representation. So, so this is where everything is living on your machine. So what does this mean? So I know I opened this in text editors. I would generally recommend not trying to edit the text files here again because it's really easy to corrupt things with your library. But why it's important to know that your user standards library is here is that, if you want to take your standards and move them from one machine to another, all that you really have to do, if I go up one level, is I can copy this standards file, or maybe I can zip up the standards file. I can email it to myself, and then I can go to another machine and unzip that and basically replace the standards file on that other machine, and that'll basically transplant my personal user library from one machine to another. All right, that's the workflow right now. The same methodology can be used if you want to share your user resources with somebody else in your office, Let's say you make your office standards a basic design. You want everybody to use those. That's the basic workflow that you can use, Zip up the standards folder, send it to your other machine, unzip it, and replace the standards that you have here, If this is just going to be with the username of whoever has it. But there's one more thing I want to show you, at least one more thing. Maybe I'll show you something else if we have time. But you guys remember that scary warning that said your standards, this process is irreversible? If you guys ever do find yourself in a pickle where you purge your user library and you're like, dang it, I want my user standards back, I messed things up, I really want to go back, every time that you use that option to purge the user library, again, this was that last option under the menu here. Every time that happens, you'll see we actually make a backup for you by default before we go and purge everything out of there. And in fact, this is the backup that was just made, as I purged my user library a few minutes ago, You can see that the old constructions, or actually, I'm sorry, this is an older, even older backup. This is the one I just made a few minutes ago, And this should actually have, let's see, well, if I were to open this program type here, you can see that this has the old air changes per hour of 10 air changes. Again, I'm just opening that in another text editor. So yeah, so if you ever get stuck and you're like, I need to go back in time, we keep a full track of all of your standards backups basically every time you purge the library. And you can see, yeah, in my past, I used to have a lot of different like a few different programs I got from different sources for people. All right, okay, so that's the general workflow for editing your standards library and for transplanting and sharing your standards library with others. I'm going to show you one more cool thing that since I have like a couple of minutes left here in this series. And that's that if, you guys remember we made this custom construction, right, by actually, making a simplified window construction and just matching the U value and solar heat gain coefficient. Now, you guys remember I actually started off by having this definition of this window construction as a full triple pane detailed construction that you see here in this LBNL window program. And something that some of you advanced people may already know, but you can actually save IDF versions of your constructions into your user standards library. Yeah, and you can actually save them from programs like LBNL Window here, and those will come loaded into your library with all of the detailed, like all these parameters you see of solar transmittance and emissivity and each individual pane of glass, those will actually get added to your library in this way. So all that you have to do if you want to enable this is you just select a report from your basically LBNL window here, and you select Energy Plus IDF file, right? And I'm going to hit OK. And then we want to just navigate to this this constructions folder in my user standards library here. And I think this is as good a name as anything for the IDF here. If I simply save this out from the LBNL window, right, it'll say IDF written successfully, hopefully. Right, and we'll see two IDF files now are in my user standards library. So again, I don't recommend manually editing your user standards library with, in text editors. But if you want to save out an IDF version of a particular window construction that you use over and over again, like I just did, I think that's a good way to go about it. One thing to be aware of, so I mean, LBNL window here saves out this, the spectral version of the window construction. At the moment that I'm making this video, we don't have support for that type of construction. We just have this average version of the construction available. But right, if you just save it like this, now the next time that I open up Rhino Grasshopper, I'm actually going to get this specific triple pane window construction with the individual layers loaded up as an option in my user library. And the construction is going to be called Glazing Sys 64 because that's the way it is in Window. But just to really show you exactly what I've done here, so I'm just going to close Rhino. I'm going to open up a completely blank instance, right? So it reloads everything from my user library. And I just want to show you that we'll have this exact window construction as it was exported from LBNL named as Glazing Sys 64. I just got to go under the resource manager here and go to energy constructions. And then you should see, if we scroll down somewhere in here, we should probably see in our user library. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, I guess we got to scroll down. Here we go. User. So what we have, this is the one we made earlier, but this Glazing Sys 64, this is actually the one that was exported directly from LBNL window. If I double click on this, you guys will see it actually, instead of just being defined by U value and solar heat gain coefficient, it actually has individual layers of glass, right, that are exactly matching that Viracon VE12M specification. So you can use this, those of you like advanced users can use this if you really want to try and match something with exactly what's on the market. Honestly, like a lot of people may consider this overkill because honestly, just matching the U value, your energy use results are going to be, pretty close to what they were anyway. But I would use this a few times back in practice if I knew that this is exactly what a project was going to have. It's going to have this exact window construction because it's just a nice thing to really use the exact specifications as coming from the manufacturer. All right, so that's the last thing I'm going to show you here. Hopefully you guys have gotten a good sense of at least how to make your own resources, how to save them into your library, how to edit that library and share it if you need to. And even if you guys are feeling very advanced, you can always like save IDF versions of constructions into your library here. I should say also the same thing goes for schedules. If you have schedules in an IDF, you can drop those into this folder and they'll be loaded up into your user library. So that's it for our mini series on creating your own custom resources with the Pollination Rhino plugin. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to always ask on our discourse. All of us are always around there to answer questions. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks.